share some tips in Pabbly Connect on how to protect your operations via using a filter. So, situation being, you might have an API that continuously sends or is triggered into your automation. Therefore, your automation keeps on flowing, and it's causing all your tasks to exhaust. So the example I'm going to show is, practical example is, say with a service business, your project is done and you want the power of automation to pass data and update your other applications. So in this case here, the trigger is going to be Plutio, and I want to pass data to other applications like Airtable, also Encharge and Salesforce. So if I scroll just quickly what the operation is, in this case, if I go back, so why do you want to protect your operation? So depending on your status of your account, you're only allocated so much tasks. So obviously you don't want to exhaust those, because if you do, all the other mission critical or all the other automations, workflows will stop running. So in this case here, I encountered an issue with a particular app, in this case here, Plutio, whereby it was ignoring, it wasn't operating as I intended. So with the project, as soon as it becomes changed to a done status, I wanted to update the information. So if I scroll up here, so we're talking about triggers. So the trigger in this case here is going to be Plutio, and we're going to filter it. So initially I had the filter, and this is just a diagram on the right too. So the trigger and the filter, and I wanted to update the different applications as well as I scroll down. So the logic tells me that, okay, when the status is done, I want it to pass the data, but only if those conditions are met. So that was my initial thinking, but it kept on triggering for whatever reason. So what I had to do, I had to add in two triggers. So in this case here, I had to use the state filter. So this one here, I used the results. So what I did, I had to format. So what I did here, so what's referring to, it's referring to two different dates. So I only want it to trigger if it occurs within 15 days. So the trigger must have occurred within 15 days. If it's outside the 15 days, I don't want it to trigger. So what was happening in my case was every single job that was done. So in this case here, so every job, so the status was done. So my thinking was only new jobs that are done should be triggered, but that wasn't the case. So what was happening was every single done job was going through this workflow and exhausting my tasks. But what was more frustrating was, because it was passing all the data into these other applications, it was updating all these other applications or SaaS products that I use unnecessarily. So I need to find a solution to prevent that. So what I did was I included two filters. So I had to do a comparison of two dates. So I want it to be less than 15 days. So there has to be a trigger date. So the trigger date was when the trigger took place. So an API sent from Plutio, but I also wanted to I want it to be in relation to the current date. So it has to be, so the current date here, you need to have two dates to compare in order for this filter to work. So it's the current date. So right here, so they've got the trigger date. Comparing. So comparing to the current date. And that must be equal to or less than 15 in order for the workflow to continue down this path. So that's what I did here. So it's all a bit of trial and error. So initially I had 15 days, but because you have to take into account the months and the years, you have to make sure they are also zero. Both of those are zero. So by incorporating 3 checks, so you got days, months, and years, I was able to get this workflow working as I needed it to. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps somebody trying to automate their workflow for their business. Let me know any feedback or comments down below. Thanks again. Bye for now.